Hello, hello. Good afternoon. It's hard. On that one, I'm like way back. And on this one, I'm pretty close, but it's the way that that it is. All right, I'm going to delete this. We'll see what we can get for a new one. And maybe I do have to share it out to my followers. Just give me 1 second, guys. Just gonna put that there. Oh, that's how we do it. Okay, perfect. Just trying to figure out how to remove something. How's your Friday? Most people are pretty happy on a Friday. Pretty excited. Oh yes, sharing. Hello, hello. I have to remember where I left off with the last share, so it requires focus apparently. How's your day? I don't know. We were sharing. We were sharing and scrolling in the sharing, not meaning to flip the Phoenix. That's whoever that. Thankfully, it was something easy to remember. The startup is always the funniest part. I should probably start TikTok about 5 minutes before I start any of the other broadcasts. Hi, Salasia. How are you? I'm very excited with what I'm going to be teaching today. I hope that you can stick around for it because it's fun. It's cool. There. I did all my sharing and now I can step back a little bit so I'm not like right in your faces. Nice. Very nice. That's always good, right? Getting some time with loved ones, right? It's very important. You have to love your life. You really do. Build one that you love and you won't want to run away from it. So be with a person that you enjoy being with. Oh, fun. Let the chaos begin. I'm kidding. It just definitely won't be as quiet at your house with all the kids home. We will be putting donation boxes out, which is really awesome. No, and I'm surprised that didn't come up for me. It usually does. I usually see your stuff and comment on it, but I didn't see that. Huh. Weird. We were together on the 17th and you didn't even say anything. That was the day that I did the, okay, so that's why it didn't come up. You just celebrated it quietly and that's okay. It's the most important thing is it's between you and your partner, right? But anyway, that's really awesome. Happy anniversary. 14 whole years. Hi, say hello and let me know who's there, who's watching. Yeah, time goes by so fast. Which we always realize in hindsight. It's always like, oh, wow, that went by so fast. But in the time that it was going by, we didn't really maybe experience it that quickly. Although I have felt that time seems very quick lately. But yeah, more quick than it was when I was a child anyway. But that could be perspective as well, right? Yeah. Very cool. I'm wearing a very cool shirt. It's actually a t-shirt, but I have a long sleeve on underneath of it because I am in Canada and it is winter. But this is our Hugs for Homeless shirt. So, ta-da! Hugs for Homeless. We got shirts. Our volunteers will have shirts that have volunteer on the back of it, but I think that this might change just a little bit. I think that the color of this is going, and the heart are kind of going to be the same color. But yeah. Hi Rita, how are you, love? So yeah, today I want to talk about a couple of different things. I've been talking about how in March I'm going to be teaching Krystic astrology, which is the true astrology. So, when we look at, and I talk about this every time, I start with explaining tropical or seasonal astrology and then moving from there. But to put it correctly, true sidereal, it looks at the sky and its accuracy. It's where are the planets right now? What signs are they in? It doesn't go by arbitrary systems like tropical, which tropical froze the sky 2,000 years ago, and just every March 20th, it becomes Aries season in or about. And, but even if the sun isn't in Aries, they just it's just Aries season. And if anybody has hung around me for a while, I like the truth of the truth. And I'm one of those like truth seekers, and I research and, I check to find where the truth is. So when I think about how, if I look at tropical astrology, it says I was born as Sagittarius, and then I'm actually a super Sagittarius because I have a lot in that sign. But when I look at the sky and where it truly is, I wasn't born as a Sagittarius. I was actually born under the sign Ophiuchus. And I have, quite a bit of Ophiuchus and Scorpio energy and not as much Sagittarius. So it's just interesting. And one of the things that made me start really focusing on it is the concept of Lucian energy. And when we're doing rituals and we're doing rituals incorrectly, that energy can be harnessed. And so when you have tropical astrology, which is saying that, for instance, the last moon would have been a new moon in Scorpio, but the moon was actually in Libra, and so is the sun. So the sun's not in Scorpio, the moon's not in Scorpio. Why did we have a new moon in Scorpio? Well, what it does is it gets a whole population doing things out of alignment. And that's the whole way that we are being manipulated. That's the veil that we're under, is all this distortion, all the lies and the manipulation. So it's up to us to figure out what the truth is and then live that truth. So I started looking into true sidereal, which looks at the placement of the sky, the placement of the celestial bodies in the sky as they are, as opposed to some arbitrary system that on such and such a date, of course they're in these signs, even when they're not. Same thing with celebrating Aquarius, Pluto being in Aquarius. Pluto's in Capricorn right now. If you look in the sky and you actually check where Pluto's sitting within the celestial within it, it's actually sitting in the sign of Capricorn, which is quite interesting. So that's why I decided to teach it. And so today I wanted to give you kind of an outlook. Like I wanted to do what the celestial outlook is for today, based on true sidereal and Krystic astrology. So this is where we look at the truth of each of the signs and what they actually mean, not the distortions that they've built into them, which keeps us thinking that there's something wrong with us and stuff like that. So this is something that I'll be teaching in March of next year. Before that, I'm going to be teaching Bridge to Light. And phase 2 of Bridge to Light. And phase 2 is just, it's about embodiment. It's living as we're meant to live, and it's stepping into that embodiment. So if you're ready to embody your truth and live as your truth, then that's probably a course for you. So I wanted to talk about the review of the planets. I think this is very exciting, to look at it through a truthful lens as opposed to the distorted ways that we've been taught to refer to specific signs, or to certain planets, and things like that. So the sun currently is in Libra. So that's the gate of harmonized truth. That's what Libra's gate is. And it's the temple of divine justice. So the sun illuminates Libra's gate, where divine balance, right relationship, and sacred justice come into focus. So this is a zone where truth must be tempered with compassion. And power is balanced through right alignment. Okay, so pretty powerful energy. The Krystic insight is that you are being invited to see how your radiance contributes to collective harmony. What you say and do now must echo through the cosmic scales. So where are you building peace through clarity is the question that it's asking. Okay, so that's what looking at the sun in the placement of Libra would look like if we were doing it using true sidereal and Krystic astrology. So looking at the truth of what Libra represents. The moon is in Ophiuchus, which is the gate of resurrection. It's the 13th flame of transmutation. Ophiuchus holds the serpent flame, the healing code of inner alchemy and quantum death rebirth cycles. The moon here signifies ancestral healing, and that's what can get brought to the surface, as well as timeline shedding and sacred remembrance. So Ophiuchus is a forgotten sign. It's a hidden sign, and most of us aren't aware of it, especially if we're utilizing tropical astrology or seasonal astrology, but the current astrology. And the other part being that even in sidereal, not true sidereal, but in sidereal, they don't often account for the 13th sign. It depends on the system that you're using, but it's a sign, and we should be referencing it. It may even be the sign that Yeshua was born under. There is some conversations about that being a possibility. So Ophiuchus holds the serpent flame. It brings up those things about ancestral healing and timeline shedding and sacred remembrance. So the Krystic insight for Ophiuchus being in the moon placement is that today's emotional waters are volcanic and medicinal, right? We move things, we transmute our emotions by bringing them to the surface and moving them in, like moving through that energy into another energy. So if you're angry, let's say, you allow that emotion to arise, you review the emotion. Why is it here? Why am I feeling this way? And then you transmute that, say, through breath work, right? Calming yourself down, or you go and chop up some wood. That's what men used to do in years and years and years and years ago. They would go do something very physical and expend the energy from the anger through those means. And that's what we're meant to do. We're not meant to go and just vent about it and do nothing about it. We're not meant to rage out, although sometimes that does happen. So they're volcanic. So the serpent stirs your bones. What outdated skin is ready to be burned away? Okay, that's what you need to look at, so that your truth can come through, so that your true light can shine. And you want to witness what rises with honor and then release it, because things are going to be coming up emotionally. That's what the moon is responsible for, is your emotions. It governs that sector. So when it's in Ophiuchus, it's death and rebirth on a quantum scale. And so your emotions can be quite quite big because it could be bringing a lot of things to the surface, but you want to use that energy. What you can't fix what you don't know about, and it's not about fixing it, it's about just releasing it, which is, important. So we have Mercury in Libra today, and Mercury is about communication. And so Libra is harmonized thought and the architect's tongue when it lands in Libra. Mercury in Libra guides us to speak with poise, to think in balance, and to resolve distortions through wise communication. This is a great combo to have, because when we've got that Ophiuchus energy in the moon, where we may have some big emotions today, we also have really great communication with Libra being in Mercury. So that gives us that diplomacy that, that we may be emotionally not feeling, but at least mentally and through our communication can be. So this is a placement of contracts, diplomacy, and voice realignment. And it's a really great sign to have in Mercury to resolve distortions and disagreements. So the Krystic insight, first insight is I needed a sip of coffee. Tea. I haven't had coffee in a long time. Delicious and warm, perfect temperature, because I have a heater. This is my favorite thing that I bought recently, is a heater for my tea. So the Krystic truth for it is that the words today shape the equilibrium of the field. So let your voice become a tuning fork for divine law. Speak less to be heard, more to restore. Right? So you want to be just speaking the things that you want more of in your space, speaking the truth, and so on and so forth. Venus is in Libra, and that is the rose mirror and sacred beauty and divine relations. Venus is at home in Libra, so it's like exalted here. Her divine design is restored. This is high feminine Sophia energy, and it's activating sacred attraction, relationship balance, and inner grace. So having Libra here is going to help with, again, that Ophiuchian energy that's in the moon, right? So those emotions that can be up, down, we're getting that balance from that Libra energy in our Venus as well. So the Krystic insight is what you desire now must now align with divine symmetry. In your relationship to love, is your relationship to love, self-worth, and pleasure coming from distortion or design? And that's a big one, right? Sometimes we're, the attraction that we have isn't because we are aligned and attracted through that alignment. It's an attraction because we're seeking something to fulfill something within us, or we're seeking to fill a vacant space that we think is there, right? There's maybe some loneliness that we're dealing with, so we want that companionship. So we jump into relationship just to have that companionship, or maybe we stay in a relationship that isn't in alignment while continuing to tell ourselves someday, if only they did this, and if only they did that, and if only this was like this, and if only our relationship was like that, and so on and so forth. Those little lies that we tell ourselves. So you want to know if it's in alignment, and you want it to be in alignment because it's in design, like it's aligned with you. So let every offering you make today be a temple of grace, and Libra will help with that. We've got Mars in Ophiuchus. So Mars is the masculine energy, where Venus is the feminine energy, often representing divine feminine and divine masculine. But Venus also represents what many would think to be love, and Mars would represent war, even though that's not what they're about. So Mars in Ophiuchus is serpent fire in motion, and it's alchemical action. So Mars in Ophiuchus is very bold. It's initiatory and deeply transformative. This is the warrior of resurrection, not destruction, but catalytic change. So Mars is movement. Mars isn't just war like they want to make it represent. It's Mars makes decision. It's that forward motion, that masculine energy, it's drive, it's so when we see that Ophiuchus is very bold energy in that initiatory energy, which is what Mars is bringing, right? You have very, very transformative energy. So this is the warrior, like warrior energy, but again, resurrection. So the Krystic insight here is that where is your anger pointing you to truth, right? Your anger's not wrong necessarily. It's usually our reaction and the way that we react. That's the issue. It's not the fact that we are angry. You can be angry and you can still be polite. You can be angry and you can affirm boundaries, and then just affirm your boundaries, right? You can be polite and speak to somebody and yet still be angry at them, and that anger allow you, like I said, to create, say, future boundaries of not doing this or not doing that because this is what you've shown me how you're going to show up. So where's your anger pointing you to the truth, right? If we're angry, there's justified anger. If somebody came up and slapped you across the face, you're going to be justifiably upset by that behavior and by being hit in the face. So that's justifiable. It's just the reaction that's what needs to be reviewed, right? So what action is no longer rooted in wounded impulse, but divine fire? And that gets you to look at the things that have transitioned or transferred into a good space, right? So instead of looking at, what action is still rooted in wounding, I want you to look at what ones you're no longer continuing to do. Maybe before you would yell and scream and call names, but you've advanced, you've healed that part of you. You've recognized the reason why you did that is because maybe that was done to you. You've done your healing on that, and now you keep yourself respectful and compassionate even when you're angry. So that's a wonderful change that would have happened. So you're not in that wounded in that wounded fire. You're now in that divine fire, which is much nicer for everybody, including yourself. All right, we've got Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini is expanding the mind and duality transcended. It's really powerful energy. Jupiter again is at home in Gemini, so it's very comfortable there. It's a very comfortable energy. And when it's in Gemini, it seeks to bridge polarities. Because remember, a lot of what Gemini gets a bad rap for in tropical astrology is that they're wishy-washy or they are contradictory because they believe that this and that can both be true. The thing is that in many, many ways, yeah, both can be true. I love little dogs, but I simultaneously do not like little dogs. I have no use for them. Do not want one. But they're cute when someone else has them and I interact with them briefly. I love them that way, and they're both true. So Gemini and Jupiter. Jupiter seeks to bridge the polarities and expand into multi-dimensional perception. Gemini likes to share information. Gemini is very cerebral. It's an air sign, so it's very mental, right? And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. Geminis are very brilliant. They like to spread that information around as well. They disseminate information very, very nicely. So this expansion that comes with the Jupiter energy is challenging us to integrate the mind's curiosity with spiritual discernment. Not everything is information worth ingesting, right? You have to learn to discern the information that is meant for you or that is true, and avoid the stuff that doesn't align. And that's through connection to your body, right? The more that you connect to your body, the more that you can discern, and the more that you sharpen your intuition. It's usually our disconnection from that, numbing out, avoiding, things like that keep us from connecting to our higher self and to our intuition. So the Krystic insight with this is discernment is not division, right? Today, allow yourself to question everything, not from doubt, but from devotion to truth, right? If you think that most of what you are being told is a lie, and live life like that, not to be distrusting of everybody or everything, but to be very much in that space of, there are a lot of lies out there. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of deception. That's an absolute fact. And we all know that. We see it all the time, right? And unfortunately, the retraction gets printed in small print on page 27 of, whatever. And so nobody ever sees it. They just see whatever was put out in the beginning, which was the lie. So you just have to be devoted to truth, right? That has to be your task. So this is a great time for teaching, for speaking, and for also activating your Logos flame. And that's your central sun, right? So then we have Saturn in Aquarius. And for anyone that's here that wasn't here at the beginning, what I'm doing is talking about the planetary alignments today through true Sidereal. So that's the actual placement of the planets in the sky at this time. And I am also using Krystic astrology, which is the divine truth about astrology. So without all the distortions that have been put in there, and it's not about personality or anything like that. That's not what Krystic astrology is about. It's about our soul stream and how what we're here to kind of do, and how we're meant to navigate through this incarnation, so to speak, in a nutshell. All right, so we've got Saturn in Aquarius, which is the law of light, and it's sacred structures of the future, because Aquarius is very future-oriented energy. It's very open-minded, and Saturn is, responsibility. And so Saturn governs time and form. In Aquarius, Saturn seeks to break false systems and rebuild on crystalline patterns. So the Aquarian Saturn is the Krystic reformer, which is a pretty powerful energy that we have right now, right? So we should be harnessing this energy. We should be working with Saturn being in Aquarius, and I'll check and see when Saturn navigates out of that, because we have some time. But it's really powerful energy. So the Krystic insight for this one is you are restructuring your legacy and service. So ask, are your systems sustainable? If you own a company, if you're a content creator, if you're somebody who's self-employed in some way, right? If you could see yourself growing in, say, 50% more customers or clients or reach than what you have now, right? Anyone that's doing anything where they're trying to build clientele or build following or have customers, right? So are your systems sustainable to handle that level of an increase? Because if they're not, then you need to work on that, because until you can embody the level of energy that's required for that upgrade's going to still be just a little further down the line for you. So, and I say these things for myself, I'm like, oh yes, I need to check all my systems too, to make sure that they are that. The other thing is, are they soul aligned, right? And sometimes we get into contracts, or we set up systems, or we working with people, and we no longer align with those things later on. So we have to be able to say, okay, wait, we're going to just start to review those particular things and maybe make some changes, let go of some subscriptions, change some service providers, stop working together or collaborating with certain people, things like that. And you also want to make sure that they are free from false obligation, right? Oftentimes we feel obligated to be in specific relationships because maybe of longevity. I don't know how many people talk about how they're friends with like someone from high school, and you hang out with them and you're like, you shouldn't be. Like, you literally should not be friends. That person's horrible to you. Right? Or the person where their friend only comes around when they need something, and they're like, well, I've been friends since public school, and you're like, well, I can see why, because he's using you. Right? So make sure that you're checking in on that as well, that yours aren't from that. So what was imposed must now be rewritten. We're not doing things out of from that feeling that we have to. Right? We're doing it because it's in alignment. That's what we're supposed to be moving into. So Uranus in Taurus is shaking the earth. It is cracking open the roots. That's the energy that we get from those two collaborating. So Uranus disrupts what's calcified. In Taurus, this impacts material systems, body sovereignty, and earth grids. So it's hitting some pretty big spots. And the energy for this is it's bringing those things up. So the Krystic insight is that this is an ongoing revolution on how you root, earn, and embody. Right? This is what we're meant to be focused on. So sudden changes in body, finances, or values may be signs of deep upgrades. Right? So watch for those big changes happening. Sorry, I have a bird feeder outside, and sometimes it gets quite active and it distracts me. I've been doing pretty good though. I made it this far without the first one making me really pause and have to say something. So hold your ground, but don't resist the shake. Let whatever gets shaken out and it's not meant for you, whatever's not in alignment, let it get removed. Let it move on, right? Don't hold on to what's not meant for you. So then we have Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces is return of the cosmic ocean. This is dream reclamation. And so this is Neptune's natural gate. This is where Neptune naturally sits, is within Pisces. So, but if you get the distorted Neptune in Pisces, it can sometimes blur those timelines and spiritual truth. So Krystic Neptune dissolves the veil and reunites soul fragments into the whole. So the Krystic insight for this is pretty big, because it's going to be asking you, like, what dreams, visions, or illusions are calling for purification? And you could say, purifying my dreams. Well, yes, sometimes your dreams are supplanted. They're not actually yours. Right? Some of the dreams that you have when you wake up, and that's so you need to be discerning whether or not that's like doing boundaries and other stuff to make sure. But it could even be a dream that you've had of doing a certain role, or a dream of being in a certain relationship, and you just know it's not, I need to let it go. So there's some things that are calling for purification, and you're meant to discern what they are. So dive into the ocean, but anchor your soul first. This is the perfect window for oversoul communion and creative channeling. It's beautiful energy for that, with Neptune being in Pisces. Very, very creative, dreamy, very open veil. So, you can really get some wonderful insights or channeled messages at this time. Then we've got Pluto. Hello, pups. I thought it said something else. Pluto in Capricorn. So we've got Pluto in Capricorn, and that means structural death and temple reformation. So Pluto is the underworld architect. In Capricorn, he shakes the bones of corrupted systems, and we're seeing that a lot. Right? We're seeing that a lot. I know that people want to say that is the age of Aquarius, but we're not in the age of Aquarius yet. It hasn't happened yet. We still have, I went through all of the placements, and I don't even know if anything was in Aquarius currently. But anyway, so Pluto is the underworld architect. In Capricorn, he shakes the bones of corrupted systems, governments, institutions, and internal authority patterns. What are we seeing on the world stage right now? We're seeing things be shooken up, and corrupted systems are coming to the forefront. We're seeing the corruption in all of these spaces, right? So the Krystic insight is to let go of outdated internal hierarchies. So where have you, in your mind, in your belief system, where are there hierarchies? Where have you placed another being above yourself or below yourself, right? Where do you think that you are better than somebody else, or where status gives somebody, are you under the illusion of thinking that someone who is an actor in Hollywood is somehow better than you, or that they should be worshipped or idolized in any way, right? We have to be looking at those types of things, because no one's better than you. No one's better than me. We're all equal. We're all the same. Do we do different things, and through those different actions, maybe have repercussions that we should have? For sure. But at the end of the day, the worth of the human life is still the same worth as all human life is sacred. So the Krystic insight is to let go of those internal hierarchies. It could be that you believe that system of patriarchy as well, where you think that somehow women are submissive or lower than men. We've been conditioned to have that kind of viewpoint, that the women are weaker. So we have to look at those things. So who have you made your inner authority, right? Who do you give your authority to? Do you think that the government is saving us? Do you think that some savior is going to come and save us? Do you think that the church is going to save you, or the Pleiadians are going to save you, or whatever, right? Like, is there, or like I said, are you giving your authority to, oh my God, I just love Taylor. I love everything about her. And when she says jump, I say how high. And if she buys something, I'm buying it. And if she's doing something, I'm doing it. And everything that Taylor says is awesome, right? Is that, kind of the life that you're living? Because you're meant to be you and your higher self, and then beyond your higher self, source of all creation. That's the chain, right? So are you in that alignment, or are you under shadows of conditioning, right? Where have you been conditioned to think that the teacher maybe is better than you, the police officer is better than you, or is these people that you should give your authority to, right? We do give our authority in a bunch of different ways, and sometimes they're subtle. It's not we're giving our authority in the sense that you're like, oh, someone's going to tell me what to do, right? But when you think about, in Canada, they're putting in that the government is going to feed our children in school, right? We shouldn't want that. We should want the government to address the reason why Canadians cannot feed their own children and allow them to do so. Many of us who are quite, aware know that most of the food that we're ingesting nowadays have some level of toxins in them. And, if they're talking about putting vaccines in, or if they're doing all of these things, what choice do you have? What choice do you have what gets given to your children if the government starts feeding them? And then what happens if the government chooses not to, right? Or what happens if they do something and, your children get sick, right? What's your recourse that you can do? So sometimes, by allowing certain, what we think are amendments or maybe social programs or stuff, that just is us giving up our sovereignty, and literally putting in a hierarchy giving someone else our authority, right? You get to make decisions for me, right? So our daily synthesis for today is Sun in Libra, Moon in Ophiuchus, and Mars in Ophiuchus. So this is balancing truth and serpent fire. Today is a day of paradox and power. This is a time when you are shedding illusions, reclaiming your inner fire, and learning to balance love and love with truth and softness with sovereign flame, right? So you can be soft and be the flame. You can be loving and be truthful, right? It's more dishonorable to lie than to be honest, but you can be honest with there being love in your voice or love in, you know, in the way that you're interacting. So the core practice, I'm going to get you to just do some breathing. Okay. I want you to just take a nice deep breath in. And when you're breathing in, I want you to breathe up your spine. Okay. So it's just breathing like that. Okay. You're just visualizing it up the spine to the crown. Okay. And you're going to anchor a staff to the central sun. Okay. You're going to anchor that within you, in your central sun. So breath in and bring that all the way up your spine to your crown. And then we're going to anchor in that sun. And next, we're going to call on the serpent, so the Ophiuchian energy, that serpent flame, and we're going to ask it to rise and transmute. Okay, we want it to burn away anything that's not aligned with us right now. We want to burn away the lies and the disillusionment, the distortions. The serpent flame is beautiful snake rolling flame circling your spine and rising, and as it rises, it's purifying and transmuting. And when the serpent reaches the crown, he spirals back down to your throat, where he activates it to speak one truth, one sentence of truth that you know will restore balance. It could be a sentence to yourself. Sometimes we have to realize when we've been lying to ourselves. Let's say, I know for a while I was complaining about my weight while simultaneously eating all of the treats that my mom made. My mom was baking treats like crazy, so I was eating treats all the time. And it's lying to yourself to not admit that. I'm pretty sure if I stop eating the treats that my mom's making me, it won't be a problem. But, I have to be honest with myself. We all have to be honest with ourselves. So, yeah. And, that's just a kind of a very quick overlook, even though it took a little bit to go through it all. It's still a quick overlook because we didn't look at the angles that anything is at. We didn't look at any relationship from one planet to the next. We were just looking at this particular planet being in that sign, as basic as that. So it's a very deep practice to study. And I will be teaching Krystic astrology in March. So I'm going to give lots of education for that. So I loved going through and doing this beautiful daily check-in. And I might do that on my lives for a little bit, just, get everyone else familiarized with it. The next thing that I'm actually going to be teaching is Bridge to Light Phase 2. And I mentioned this earlier. Now, Bridge to Light Phase 2 is not really a content type of thing. It's a transmission field. And it has a bunch of different pillars to the program, like the Oversoul conduit, timeline navigation, the Krystic nervous system, voice of light, divine administration, and embodiment as architecture. And that's the core of it, is the embodiment of as architecture. So it's learning the truth and then living the truth, being that expression. And yesterday I talked a little bit about how we're meant to navigate through our day. And, you know, it's a different flow than what we typically are used to. And it's, you know, when you're, one part of it was to, if you're someone that's a content creator, before you start creating content, is to ask yourself what I should's not the right word, but is to ask what you will create from the space of abundance rather than urgency, right? So if you have everything and you need nothing, what would you create right now? And then create your content from that space of feeling very abundant. The stuff that you're going to produce is going to be way different than the stuff you're creating out of urgency, right? When we create out of urgency, oftentimes we release things like really fast, right? And instead of, you know, taking our time and releasing it when it's the appropriate time, we want to get it out. We want to get people seeing it. I've been there, right? Where I'm like launching things so fast and I'm like, oh my God, because I need to make money now, right? I can't wait for later. I need it now. So I need to get this launched now so I can, you know, and that was never the right thing to do. So this is what this, you know, you want to move from that space for sure. So this is going to be starting on January 9th. I have some things that I'm going to do for it. One of the things that I want to do is for anyone that's an early bird registrant, whoever registers during the early bird, I'm going to immediately gift them Bridge to Light Phase 1, which is a fully recorded course with 12 recorded sessions. It's got tons of meditations and activations, and it's got guides and, you know, like all kinds of stuff. So you would get that absolutely free for joining during the early bird, which I have to get those things set up right away here. Anyway, there's always something else. There's always more going on, right? And you have to, you know, if you're moving from the space of alignment, then those things, they're not work. They're not, you know, difficult. It's just placing those, you know, getting those things done together. And, you know, this weekend I'm focusing on hugs. I have a bunch of pamphlets to drop off, and I have some donation boxes to place out in the community and things like that. So if you are in a giving mind and would like to help the homeless, you can help us put backpacks together filled with essential items that get distributed into the community. There is the QR code, which you can, if you scan that, I don't know if you can do that on here. I'm just thinking maybe you can. But anyway, that would take you, the website's hugsforhomeless.com. Any bit of money helps, and we're looking for all the donations. The more donations we have, the more that we can help those in need, the more that we can, the more backpacks that we can build. It costs about $100 Canadian for each backpack, and they have like hygiene products, so your toothpaste, toothbrushes, they have soap, there are socks, gloves, and a hat, so a toque or a beanie if you're in the States. They have feminine hygiene products, can openers, blankets. They have a bunch of like the essential things that the community needs. And they are very, very treasured by the individuals that receive them. From the ones that we have given out thus far, they are very well received and very treasured. So we are very excited, and I would love any help that you can give. We will have volunteer opportunities open eventually. And when you become a volunteer, you will get a wonderful Hugs for Homeless. It's a t-shirt, but I'm in Alberta, so I have a long sleeve shirt on underneath of it because it's chilly here. But you can get, you will get a t-shirt with it will say volunteer on the back though. And yeah. So I'm very excited about all of that stuff. So Bridge to Light Phase 2, I'm going to integrate some of the some lighter teachings of Bridge to Light Phase 1 so that you get a kind of a way to understand what I'm teaching come January 9th. Okay, it's coming. It's coming. I mean, we're more than halfway through November already, which is just crazy. I have lots of things that I'm in the process of doing. Hi, Snea. Hello, my love. How are you? Lovely to see you. I'm doing fantastic. Although I don't live in the same province as you anymore. It has. It's been quite a long time. I see you come up on my feed every once in a while, but now I haven't seen you in a while, actually. Yeah. I moved out to Alberta. I did. Yep. Now you'll have to come out and visit me. No, I'm in Alberta. And not in a van. I live I have a beautiful home on 40 acres right now. The van story. I love the van story. I still occasionally enter those things. Well, I say I donate to the cause with, the potential of winning a van. There was one van, it was a mango van, and I was like, that's the perfect van for me. It's a mango van. But I haven't heard anything yet, so I probably, right? I know, we were gonna. I went in my van all by myself and I packed everything that I could in there. I needed all the space. There's no way. You would have had to ride on the roof. But I am bringing the van back in the spring. Yeah. So what ended up happening was in August, actually, in August. So for years, this is actually an interesting story, kind of maybe to some people. So for years, my ex and I had talked about starting a company called Hugs for Homeless. And this company would take and fill backpacks with essentials that the homeless community needs and then distribute them to people that are affected by homelessness. And I know for years I've been talking about how this philanthropy stuff that I want to do is focused on the homeless. Well, anyway, in August, we've been friends since not being in a relationship. We've been friends for years now. But anyway, in August, he started the company and he asked me if I wanted to help. And so we decided to become partners in the company, and now we are co-partners in Hugs for Homeless, and we do exactly what we planned to do, which is build backpacks and distribute them into community. And I'm wearing one of the shirts today. This weekend, I will be going around and putting out pamphlets into some spaces. I have a bunch to fold today. And I have donation boxes that I'm putting out. Any amount of money helps, and we will have volunteer opportunities at some point. Then just you have to keep an eye on the web. Keep posting about it or talking about it, and eventually you'll know we've got volunteer opportunities or what those volunteers opportunities are going to be. At some point, we're going to have. We'll have donation drives. I'm setting up a walkathon. I'm just not sure when, and stuff like that. I'm just trying to figure figure everything out. And yeah, so it's just another addition on my plate. But anyway, moving into that space of Hugs for Homeless, as soon as I made the decision for that, this house opened up. It was absolutely a perfect fit, to the fact that I said right away that I was going to move to Alberta for 1.5 to 2 years. That's what I kind of figure will be needed for me to be on the ground here. And then maybe we'll branch it out somewhere, or maybe, we'll be doing something, maybe I'll be doing something different at that point. Who knows, right? Who knows? But I figured at least 1.5 years, and this is exactly what they were looking for, was a year. There was 1.5 years. So it just perfectly lined up with everything. The time that I needed it to start was the exact time that they needed someone to move in. And so everything was just perfectly aligned. And, it's just, it couldn't be any better. Anyway, we're great friends, great friends. And so it was just, it's when you're in alignment, everything aligns to you, right? It's just the way that it goes. So that's what I help you do, is get into alignment. And I can show you what it's like to have that happen, right? How long ago was it? When did I move out of my mom's? I moved out of my mom's the beginning of June 7th, actually, because I would have been homeless, but my mom let me live with her. And I wasn't allowed to live with her, but we kind of hid it out because my mom wasn't going to let me be homeless, but I would have been. And so that's why it's such an important thing to me. As a child, I experienced it a couple of times, although it was during the summer months. My parents camped for the summer. They kind of hid it from us. We weren't living in a van. We were living in tents at a campsite by water. So for us kids, it didn't seem that bad. But we do know that we were homeless. My mom had a bed set up in her tent with a dresser, right? Which is fine. So yeah, it's something that means a lot to me. I think it's something that we should never have to worry about as human beings. And I think that the fact that there are people out there that hoard an enormous amount of wealth when they could easily address these issues, that there are enough empty homes that could address that issue, that with the right mental health therapy, with the right treatments, trauma help, stuff like that, we could eradicate a lot of those issues. There's a lot of things we could do, but we do nothing. Instead, we treat the homeless like criminals when, nobody, we shouldn't have to pay to survive. Your life should never end because because you're not warm enough, because you don't have the proper housing or clothing or whatever. You should never die because you don't have clean water. You should never die because you don't have enough food. You should never die over anything that's an essential for life. That's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous with the amount that we have in the world for that to be. So I have to help the way that I can, and that's why Hugs for Homeless. That's why Hugs for Homeless. How to get that hair out of the way. And I'm also teaching some new things. So I'm teaching Bridge to Light Phase 2 on January 9th. I'll have an early bird of anyone that joins Bridge to Light Phase 2 gets Bridge to Light Phase 1 for free. And this is about embodiment as architecture. So this is living like you're meant to live, and honoring your truth, being in alignment. So there'll be lots of activations and rituals and education, and it's a 6-week course, which will be probably 12 sessions of classes. I like to do 2 classes a week, but that could be something that we discuss in class and choose to make just 6 classes and do longer classes. I always give whoever joins the opportunity to just determine a couple of things in any of the courses that I teach. I try to fit the group that I'm working with. So, and then in March, I'm teaching Krystic astrology, which is true Sidereal and Krystic astrology combined. So it's taking the distortions out of astrology that we know it, and it's also looking at the placements as they actually are in the living sky, and not going by arbitrary dates or anything like that. It's the living sky and communicating with it, and looking at your astrology as more of your soul stream, rather than a personality test. So I'll be teaching that in March. On the 20th of March will be the first day of that on equinox. I'll open that on equinox. So yeah, those are the two things that are coming up. I have 2 books that I'm releasing next month, which I have to finish putting them all together. I'm a little bit delinquent with that lately because I've been focused a lot on hugs and doing governance documents and all of that. So yeah, I have the 5th book in the Unlikely Heroine Chronicles, which is Tiana and the Phoenix Who Won't Burn. The Phoenix Who Refuses to Burn, sorry, not won't, but refuses to burn. And then I have the 6th book in the Luminous Scroll series, and that is Infinite Wonder. And I'm looking forward to releasing both of those. Yeah, that's kind of an update. That's about as best of an update as I can get. Oh, and I went to see MJ the musical, and I have to say, if you have not been, you should go see MJ the musical if you like musicals. Oh my gosh, what a good show. So much fun, especially if you were ever a fan of Michael Jackson. And yes, I did. I got the glove. I just had to put it on for a minute. It was so amazing. It really was. It was absolutely fantastic. So if you're looking for a recommendation for that, definitely go, or if you're looking for a recommendation of something to do, definitely go and see MJ the musical. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Should we do a check-in on the, you know what, maybe we'll do a, yeah, let's do this breathing exercise. I'm not sure, but let's do this little exercise here, and I'll wrap up with this information that I'll share here, and I'll let you get on with your day. So this is the Ophiuchus Moon, the Serpent, Flame, and the Bridge. All right, so we're going to take a breath. And I talked about this earlier, but when we breathe, we're going to imagine the air coming up through our spine to our crown. Okay. As my brain's like, I'm getting pictures of like the thing, but also, okay, so when you exhale, so you're inhaling up your spine to your crown, and when you exhale, you're going to exhale as if a sun is bursting through your chest, right, and expanding out. There we go. Up to the crown, and then exhale out, sun out. Okay. All right, let's do that. In, out, in, out, one more breath. Bring it up the spine, sun out the chest. So today is the moon is under the sign Ophiuchus. This is the flame of transmutation, the serpent gate, the temple of return. Ophiuchus is not a sign. It is a remembrance. It's a resurrection current the hidden 13th gate, long erased and long feared. But now it's rising again to restore wholeness, right? We need to know all the truth. Like, there's a reason why we need to know the truth. The truth does set us free. So we're meant to seek it out and find it, right? So more chickadees at the feeder. So I'm not here to talk about astrology as like a concept. I was here to bring the Krystic sky, the truth of the sky, what's actually happening in the heavens above us, right? And more importantly, within us, because it's as within, so without, as above, so below. So the sun is in Libra, which is anchoring divine balance and sacred law. Mercury and Venus are also in Libra, so our minds and hearts are being recalibrated. The Mars and Moon are in Ophiuchus, which brings that serpent energy flame, or serpent flame, sorry, directly into the body. And Jupiter is in Gemini, activating the voice of prophecy. Saturn is in Aquarius, which brings structure to the sacred rebellion. Uranus is in Taurus, which is shifting our values from matter to soul. Neptune in Pisces is revealing the illusions. And Pluto in Capricorn is breaking down false hierarchies. Every planet is a mirror and every gate is a choice. So that's the importance of reading the sky in the way that it's meant to be read, and looking at the truth of the planets, right? So what truth is ready to be reborn in you today? That's what the Ophiuchus energy is going to be asking you. It's not the truth the truth you read. It's not the truth someone told you. It's the truth that's burning inside of you that you know, and it's something that needs to be spoken, right? And it could even be spoken to yourself as maybe what it needs, right? It's sometimes the biggest lies we tell are the lies we tell to ourselves. So we reclaim the sacred fire today of the serpent bearer, right? We walk as living stargates. As we do, we prepare the field for the next phase in the mission, right? We came here to affect change. Many of us believe that we're chosen ones or star seeds or light workers. I don't know. There's so many labels out there that people choose to use. So if they're feeling that energy, if they think that they're that, then they believe they must think to some degree that they have a mission, they have a purpose, they have a reason for being here. And typically, if you're identifying by those monikers, you believe that you're either here to create the new earth, you're here to awaken people to the new earth, you're here, like to affect change in some way. So we need to be preparing the field for the next level in the mission. So Bridge to Light Phase 2 is, like I said, it's embodiment as architecture. And if you know that your body is a flame that is meant to walk, if your voice has gone quiet beneath too much doctrine, then the Bridge to Light Phase 2 is the course that's going to bring you back. So you've got this. You've got this. So I just want you to repeat after me. This is your little decree of the day. Okay, so I am the living flame. Chickadees outside again. I am the bridge. I am the serpent fire risen. And I walk now as truth, as light, as return. And that's it. That's it for what I had for my notes for what I wanted to talk about today. And the stuff that I wanted to get you to do. Yeah. What are your plans for Saturday and Sunday? Mine is hugs related, like getting out pamphlets and putting bins out, so that, you know, at certain locations, there'll be donation bins at the checkout counter so that we can try to, you know, capture some people with some giving hearts. Mhm. All right. Well, I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you didn't catch the live but are interested in the information, it will be on my live space in YouTube, on YouTube channels. And I think Facebook saves it too. I don't know. For TikTok, maybe I'll put up some small little snippets of or pieces of what I taught. I don't think I'll be going live over the weekend, but I'll be back at it on Monday. And again, we'll check the celestial alignments based on true Sidereal and Krystic astrology. And we'll look at some embodiment practices or principles and stuff like that. So we'll talk about some good stuff and maybe even have some fun. I might throw some cards around and, you know, play with some cards for a bit. And, you know, I know you guys like the cards when they come out, so we can always look at that. But I'm going to let you go and I'm going to continue on with my day. I love you. Have a beautiful afternoon. Go embody your truth.